Good morning. Today we are correcting CO64 about the histograms. Remember, a histogram looks very similar to a bar graph, but the bar graph, we can see there are spaces in between, whereas a histogram, the bars touch. The bar graph, that x-axis, it doesn't matter what order it's in. Who has birthdays in March, who has birthdays in August, who has birthdays in June, we can mix those up. It doesn't matter because we're just going to look to see what it is at the top. For the histogram, it very much matters because remember the histogram has the intervals on the bottom. So it's saying who scored between 40 and 50 points, who scored between 50 and 60 points. So those intervals on the bottom have to be in order. Histograms always have the intervals. That's the big difference. Histogram to bar graph. Bar graph, it could be the injury types. Injury not specified, back injury, you fell. Okay, those types of injuries, it didn't matter the order they were in. Histograms, it matters the order because they are numbers and they build sequentially on each other. Bar graphs have spaces, histograms do not. So let's look at our homework for our top one. How many people scored between 40 and 50 on the test? It's about 14. So when we go across, there's not a number specifically there. So it's harder to know exactly what the number is. Just like when we worked with that protractor, and I said I would give you a couple top or bottom, and it would be okay. So if we don't have exactly 14, if we put 15, that's why I have the little squiggle line there, about 14. Because I'll give us a little wiggle room. We're not going to say 19 because we know it's not right up by the 20, right? So we have to make it logical, but it has to be around that. Did that answer your guys' questions? Okay. Next one, how many people scored above a 70? So that would be about 107 because we had to go to the 70 and count all the bars across from it. And it's, again, about 107. So if you have 110, that's close. If you have 200, that's not close. Liv? So you just counted the bars. You said there's 1, 2, 3 bars. But what you have to do is you have to go up the bar and say, oh, there's this many people between 70 and 80. There's this many people that scored between 80 and 90. This many that scored between 90 and 100. Do you see how we did that, Liv? So each bar represents a lot of people. So we had to figure out how many people each, or how many scores, people that scored in that range. We had to figure out that number for each of those bars and then add them together. So we don't want to just count how many bars there are. You have to look at that frequency, the number of people. Next one, how many people scored between 60 and 90? So going from 60 to 90. So again, we had to look at how many people scored on those 3 bars, those 3 intervals, and add them together. And I have about 117. Connor? Yes. 112 would be close enough. Melanie? 105 is pretty far down. So what did you put for the interval of 70 to 80? How many did you have, Mel? Okay. What did you have from 80 to 90? Okay, and what did you do for 90 to 100? That's where we went wrong. Because if we go across here, we can see it's definitely above 20. Okay, because 105 was way too much of a difference, and that's where the mistake happened. Okay, and which interval did most people score? Well, that's the tallest one. So that would be the interval of between 70 to 80. Okay. Any other questions on reading this histogram? All right, let's look at the bottom. We had to create our own histograms. I started us off with this first one. So we had to have our x-axis labeled with our intervals of the heights. You do have to have labels on the test if you have to draw a graph, Ava. If you have to draw a graph on the test, you must have labels. On our math packet that's due tomorrow, you have to draw a graph, I believe, right? Yeah. You must have labels. You have to tell me what each thing stands for, what the numbers going up the y-axis stand for. So we have heights on the bottom and frequency going up. Your bars should be touching because it is a histogram. They should look to be similar structure as to what I have, because we need to have that frequency the same. On our second one, we should have it labeled with frequency going up the y-axis and class on the x-axis. Have your intervals labeled. Bars are touching because it's a histogram, and your bars should look similar to mine. Any questions on the histograms that we were to draw? All right, so now we have our review. You had to do that 5-number summary for the box and whisker plot. So on here, our minimum is 0. Our maximum is 12. That lower quartile, the left side of our box is 2. The median, the middle line is 4. And the upper quartile is 6. How many sections do we have in a box and whisker plot? 4. We divide it up into those 4 equal sections. So each one of these sections, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not reviewing this for my own benefit. I know it. Our test is next week. I'm reviewing this for you guys. This is a new type of graph. I need us to pay attention. Each of these sections has the same number of data points in it. Even though this whisker looks really long and this whisker is short, the same number of data points in there. So if we're looking at number of pencils, if we say there's 5 pencils or 5, I'm guessing it might be something like, how many pencils does each person have? Maybe there would be 5 people in this section that have between 6 to 12 pencils, and there's going to be 5 people in this section that have 0 to 2 pencils. So you have to remember that each of these sections has equal data points in it. So we divide by 4 to find out how many are in each section. Any questions on that box and whisker plot? Just a reminder, Monday, I have a student council meeting until 2:30. Mrs. Gregory has said people can get other work done in her room until I'm done with student council, and then at 2:30, I can have a review session so we can go over all of these different graphs to get ready for our test. Practice test is Tuesday, real test is Wednesday. I can't do a review session Tuesday because that's staff meeting day. Okay, so if you want to go over all of these, review a little bit more, all of the graphs, we're going to do an in-class review with the whole class on Monday, but we can do a more personal, small group, asking lots of questions, making sure we understand how to read the different graphs after school on Monday. If you are watching this at home, I hope you are well, and I hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.